The big three rookies to play in 2024 are set in their lineups, and the number one out of the three didn't make it on the opening day roster. While the rest, they're going to be starting in the MLB. Let's get into it.
Cardinal, Yankee, and Jackson flies the ball to right field.
He's the guy at the supermarket. He's got a lot of natural ability to play this game. Pull to pull.
That clears the bound. Challenging play.
Welcome back to the Touching Bases podcast. If you notice, everything's a little bit different. It's orange. We're going to try and match the team that we're talking about today specifically. We're going to touch on a couple others, but if you're new here, please stay through the whole video. Tell me if you like the video. If not, then leave it down in the comments. Otherwise, if you've been here before and you're back for another video, consider subscribing. We're trying to build this channel. It's only about 3 months old, 3.5 months old, so we'd love to have you guys join the family, and it would mean a lot to me to have your support. Plus, this takes a lot of effort. Anyways, Wyatt Langford is someone I'm beyond excited to see. There's just the numbers he puts up in AA, AAA, and also in spring training. I'm expecting him to take Rookie of the Year this season, especially since he is now starting on the opening day roster for the Rangers, if Evan Carter doesn't take it from him, who did have his debut last season, but he didn't play enough games in the regular season to count as his rookie year, so he's still a contender this season for the AL. Jackson Chourio, who is the other rookie, one of those big names that are coming up into 2024, has been set in the roster and is starting in center field for the Brewers, and I think they're going to move over Yelich to left field or have him as a DH. Fangraphs has a prediction, but I'm gonna go with my gut and say that he's sliding over to left field because he's still good defensively. This guy has been tearing it up in spring training, much like Jackson Holliday. He's a 20-year-old that hit 280 in AA with only an 18% strikeout rate for the entire season with 559 plate appearances. He hit 22 home runs and had 43 stolen bases. If this doesn't sound familiar to any of you, maybe a name that rhymes with Macuña. That's all I'm saying. He played 6 games last season in the AAA when he got the call-up, which was towards the end of the season. And when he did that, I understand it's only 6 games that he played, but he batted a .333 batting average. And rolling into spring training, he matched his AA performance with a .280 batting average. I understand it's a small sample size, but he was going up against big league pitchers for the most part. He's expected to bat 8th for the Brewers this season, which the Brewers have lost a lot of talent, so it makes sense for them to call him up, especially since he's been performing the way he does. And he is very much, I would say, one of the top contenders for Rookie of the Year this year. No doubt, I don't see anybody else that's really in competition that is going to guaranteed play enough games to qualify for their rookie season. So over to Jackson Holliday. Was this player control manipulation? That was kind of one of the first pessimistic things that I heard on YouTube today when I was looking through everything on my time off, because I don't do that stuff at work, right? You do what you're supposed to do at work. But I can tell you, as much as you'd like to think that they're basically throwing him to AAA because he's only 19 and they don't have to take away from his club control contract until he hits the majors and waiting till a later date, is mainly there to retain him at the lowest cost possible until he develops a little bit more so they can get someone who's going to be extremely good. I don't know. There's also other thoughts that they might not even let him play this season at all, or the bare minimum to where he doesn't qualify as a rookie because they are worried about Wyatt Langford or Evan Carter taking away the Rookie of the Year from him. Jackson Holliday is the house name. He is the number 1 draft pick. He is the most talked about rookie that's in the MLB. Well, technically, I guess he's not in the MLB right now, but going to be in the MLB in 2024. They kind of want to make sure that he can earn that title without any competition. That's an argument. I don't believe that, but that's an argument that's been thrown around as a possibility. But let's look at the realistic side. The Orioles are stacked on the infield. They might as well be the Cincinnati Reds of the American League. They have Gunnar Henderson down there. They have Ramon Urias at third. They have Jordan Westberg over at second base, and then they have Mountcastle at first. If not Mountcastle at first, then most likely Ryan O'Hearn. Both of them are very good power hitters, but you tell me that you would put Jackson Holliday ahead of Gunnar Henderson, the literal Rookie of the Year winner this past season. Doesn't make sense. And then to maybe possibly ask if there's anybody that qualifies to be removed for Jackson Holliday, it would probably be Ramon Urias, but I don't know if you want to take your rookie who's specifically a shortstop and move him over to third base. You're not going to ask Gunnar Henderson to move to third and then expect him to play the same way that he would defensively at shortstop. This could be something that develops later on in the years where Gunnar gets some time at third base, maybe feels better there, and then he's really good at the hot corner, Gunnar, but I don't know if that's going to happen. You look at other shortstops that have moved to third base, like maybe A-Rod, who became legendary for his third baseman abilities, but he was mainly a shortstop, or within the Orioles organization, Cal Ripken Jr. He was originally a shortstop and then moved over to third base. So maybe this is a strategy for later, but honestly, if you look at the lineup and just how they have everything, it doesn't make sense. And then on top of that, why would you take your best player that you're trying to develop at 19 years old, the number 1 draft pick, clearly can play at the major league level, and make him sit the bench while everybody else plays when he could be down in AAA, maybe winning, I don't know, player of the year for AAA or MVP of AAA? Why not? I would definitely say this is most likely predetermined, even though he had a near perfect spring training performance. This was probably going to happen no matter what. It doesn't matter about the stats. It doesn't matter about how he vibed with the clubhouse. It really came down to a decision of is there going to be room and what's going to happen in future years since they have club control over him in the organization. And then also, how is Gunnar going to perform? Is he going to get hurt? Maybe they need to see how he does going into this new season. He already is dealing with an oblique issue. So maybe keeping him fresh and hot down in AAA just in case Gunnar has more issues with his oblique, they can bring him up to take his place. But this is all theoretical. I think they're just preparing for the worst because they already have a pretty stacked infield. Also, who they sent down, which, I mean, I guess not surprised because you can only fit so many people on your bench, but Kyle Stowers, who hit 3 home runs last week in 1 game. Colby Mayo, who they've really loved for the past couple seasons. They just had their eyes on him to bring him up to the bigs. And then Kjerstad, who did amazing on, like, I believe it was his first at bat of the MLB, hits a home run. So those guys would be very good to have. Of course, outfield, who do they have in the outfield? Well, obviously they have Anthony Santander, who arguably was one of the best hitting outfielders in the American League. I mean, we're not going to compare him to like now Juan Soto or Aaron Judge. Actually, he was comparable to Aaron Judge because he was injured for a lot of the season, and they had similar amount of home runs. Plus, not to mention, Santander has had a really good defensive streak. I want to say his range is incredible, but he does have a good glove. If it's within his range, he typically can glove it, even if he's laying out for balls. It's very impressive. On the other side, you also have Austin Hayes. I don't think they're for a second planning to let Austin Hayes sit on the bench for any reason. They would have to probably trade him and try to get something else, maybe pitching, but again, they have Corbin Burns, and a lot of these guys are going to be coming back from the IL when it comes to Means or Kyle Bradish. So, I mean, there's no real reason to trade any of these guys away. The team is pretty well stacked, and we saw that from last season. It's only getting better. So, Austin Hayes, defensively, a good asset, and he gets on base. Last but not least, basically the veteran of the Orioles is Cedric Mullins. I don't think they're letting go of Cedric Mullins. They probably considered it a few years ago as maybe a trading piece to build the team, but now he's a huge asset. He's a captain of that team. I don't know if he's officially a captain of the team, to be honest with you. I don't pay attention to that kind of stuff, but I would assume that he is in a good role model. He's one of the older ones, but he's also still super quick, stealing bases, good leadoff batter, gets on base. Really good asset to this team, and defensively very good as well. So really, there's just no room for the outfield to put anybody out there. And then, of course, they already have 2.5 outfielders on their bench that was already designated, and I think that's plenty. And I say 2.5 because Jorge Mateo is an infield and outfield utility, and I think they like having that ability to go from outfield to infield just in case something happens, and he's a little bit more universal as far as being on the bench. Now, the big question here would be if Jackson Holliday wanted to make it to the bigs and then he felt comfortable enough, could he play third base? Maybe that is a option for the Orioles, depending on how Ramon Urias plays at third base. He's not entirely the best, but he's not bad. He has a decent batting average. Last year he batted a 264, and he has batted a 258 during spring training, so he's relatively consistent. Although last season he only hit 4 home runs and had 3 stolen bases with 42 RBIs. I am reading this verbatim because he had 396 plate appearances and 25% strikeout rate and only a 6% walk rate. So he doesn't exactly get on base a whole lot, but his batting average being at 264, I mean, that's pretty damn good. I mean, you're almost getting to a third of the time on base, which is good, and he's been doing it for pretty much the last 4 years. Where his big one was the year after his rookie season. It might actually have been, it was his official rookie season in 2021. Out of 296 plate appearances, he only had 7 home runs, 1 stolen base, but he batted a 279, and that is definitely very respectable. And he's come down a little bit, but he has performed pretty steadily, staying over a 250 average. Do I think this is good enough to keep Jackson Holliday down in AAA? Depends if Jackson Holliday is comfortable with third base and if he could play there. I don't know. I don't know if they're trying to keep him in his groove and stay with the shortstop, but also their rookie of the year last year was Gunnar Henderson. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. I don't think they're planning on losing him. He's got a lot of club control and he's going to be with the Orioles probably for a very, very long time. So I don't see Jackson filling into that spot unless they were to platoon, but why would you platoon your two best players in one spot? It makes no sense. So maybe there is a transition period over to third base that they're going to gear up for. Just a protection, I have no idea. You guys tell me in the comments. But let's take a look real quick at Jackson Holliday's stats. It's pretty interesting. So in AA, he hit a 338 and then a 267 in AAA, but with only 91 plate appearances in AAA. So yeah, his average did come down for the 91 at bats that he had in AAA, which I don't know if that really affects anything because in spring training he proved that he could still bat and he's improved. In spring training he hit 311, so he's definitely in that median where he's grown over this offseason, at least since AAA. And his slugging percentage in spring training is 600, which nobody else is really doing besides the biggest names in baseball. Like I think Juan Soto hit over 600. Now the downside, Jackson Holliday did strike out 31.3% of the time in spring training, so there might be a issue where he hits the ball, he gets on base, but if he doesn't hit the ball, he strikes out. And that's not exactly a fun game to play with a shortstop. You might expect this from a DH or from a first baseman, or maybe a big power outfielder who is going to hit you a lot of home runs, but Jackson Holliday is not exactly a home run hitter. He can hit it out of the park and he does have power, but he's very much a get on base hitter. He's a contact hitter. He's going to get you runs. He's going to bat runs in. He's going to get you in scoring position. He's going to set you up for success, but he's not going to be clearing the bases with a grand slam every single time. So that 31.3% strikeout rate is a little bit worrisome, and maybe I doubt it had a role, and I think they planned this out before, but maybe that's a reason why they wanted to take him down to AAA to get a little bit more experience, more than just 91 at-bats. He has proved himself to be an elite infielder and definitely MLB contender, but at 19 years old, he still has plenty of time to improve and just get better than what he already is. Yeah, these other guys are going to be starting in the MLB, but they are a little bit older. One's 20, one's 22. They had a year or 3 years ahead of them, which is development time. Maybe those guys are going to be a little bit better than Jackson Holliday as he currently stands, and they're going to be able to improve on that for the Orioles in the future. Plus, they got to really find a spot for him at this point. So expect Jackson Holliday to blow up AAA and become the MVP of the AAA league. I don't know the leagues down there. I should know this stuff, but I really don't pay too much attention, just individual players. If you guys like the video, go ahead and give it a big, huge thumbs up like, and I would really appreciate you guys. Give me that love, and then also subscribe if you haven't. Hit the bell for notifications on the next videos. If you guys haven't already, check out my last video. We're talking about Shohei and his little scandal going on. Honestly, I'm not saying anything bad about Shohei, but I am worried about him, and maybe you guys should be too. Until then, I'll see you guys on the next one. Later.